What's in the dirt? What's in the dirt? Brad Pitt, movie 7. What's in the box? His wife's head's in the box. Didn't get it. Oh well, I was trying to be funny. What's up, guys? It's Chris here from Ambrosia Buds, and today we're going to talk about what's in the dirt. Because dirt is the one thing that holds the nutrients that your plants feed off of, that allow them to grow nice, big, healthy buds like you want, right? But before we get started, guys, I want to tell you this. I'm going to link 2 other YouTube channels at the end of this video. One's a Canadian grower, and the other one's Build Your Soil, or Build Soil, something like that. And these guys are going to get into what is a living soil in a lot more detail. I'm not trying to over cram a whole bunch of information and confuse you guys. In this video, I'm just going to go over the basics of what's in soil, like soil you buy from Lowe's or Home Depot and stuff like that. And then these guys will give you the recipe for what's called the Clackamas Coos recipe, because what you have to understand is soil is kind of like your grandma's favorite cake that she always baked you. Everybody has their own kind of recipe, and everybody thinks their recipe is the best. But these guys will get into the stuff how to properly mix soil for a living soil. I'll get into a little bit more detail about that. But if you guys really want, you can get this book, Soil Science for Regenerative Gardening. This will be linked in the description below as well. Super cheap, super short, really good read, and will give you all the science and all the information that you need to know about really what's in the soil from like a textbook, like college class kind of level. But let's get to it. So when you buy a bag of like topsoil or potting mix from Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, or wherever you go, your local nursery, there's only 3 numbers on the front of the bag, and same thing with fertilizer. So for an all-purpose topsoil or potting mix, it's usually 10, 10, 10. Those numbers stand for NPK, or what's nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. So one thing you need to realize is that cannabis has 2 phases of growth: a vegetative stage and a flowering stage. Flowering stage is when you get the buds. But each stage of those growth require a different kind of nutrients. The plant wants something different in order to achieve its goal. So when you're in the vegetative state, cannabis plants like more nitrogen. But now when you're in the budding state, they like that center number. So if you have like a 10, 10, 10 soil, that's good. But in vegetative, you want more like a 110 or a 1.5 or something like that. Now, what you have to realize also is that when it comes to how much nutrients you need and how much soil you need, if you're growing in soil, is 1 gallon of soil is properly mixed and fertilized soil is usually enough for 1 month of growth. That's why you hear a lot of people talk about, growing in a 5-gallon bucket or 5-gallon bag. Don't use the buckets, guys. When it comes to growing cannabis, you're going to want to use felt growing bags, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you guys can check them out. They're super cheap. You can get like a 5-pack of like 5 gallon for like 15, 20 bucks. I usually use 3-gallon bags in my tent, 5 gallons outside. It just depends how many plants I want. But what you have to realize is that cannabis, even in auto, is going to take you roughly start to finish 80 to 90 days. That's 3 months. So if you have 5 gallons of properly mixed soil, you have enough nutrients so you don't have to fertilize that soil. You don't have to use fertilizer in your water or anything like that for the whole shebang, start to finish. But besides the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, there's a couple other things that you're going to want to put in your soil as well. There's a lot of other things when it comes to a living soil or using the no-till method. But like I said, I'm just getting into the basics for beginners. So a couple of things that I like to add, like when I first started that I added to my soil, is for one of the biggest common mistakes I see new growers do is overwater. Okay, when you guys overwater, if too much moisture is resting on your roots, you're going to get root rot. That means your roots die. When your roots die, plants die. Pretty common sense, right? You don't want your plants to die, so keep the roots alive. Now, the way to avoid overwatering is, for one, use those felt bags, because those felt bags allow the soil to become oxygenated, and it lets the bags breathe. So in between, your soil should be dry to the touch at the top, or at least like stick your finger in it, I'd say 1 inch or 2, and because you're going to want it to dry out and whatnot. You don't want it to be constantly soggy. You don't see cannabis grown in swamps. There's a reason for that, guys. They don't like a lot of water all the time, but they will suck up a lot of water. And so easiest way to do that is mix perlite into your soil. So if you get a bag of like Miracle Grow from like Walmart or something, you dump it out, you see a whole bunch of little white specks. That's because they mix perlite in it. Perlite is just kind of a lightweight rock that spaces out the soil, so it allows for easier drainage. There's a couple of other things you can use that the guys in the Canadian grower will talk to you about, and Build a Soil will as well. It's all your choice, guys. I'm not saying you have to use what I'm talking about. Everybody kind of goes their own way. But a few other things. So cannabis also likes a little extra magnesium and calcium, and it also thrives at a pH between 6 and 7. Now pH is really important, because if your pH drops low, below 6, the lower it goes, the more you're setting up that soil for a bad bacteria to grow, which is going to cause your root rot. Root rot's going to kill your roots, kill your plants. Don't want that to happen. So you want it to be above 6. I keep the water in my hydro system around 6.3, 6.5 all the time, and I constantly check my water every day. Now what happens if you go over 7, the roots will react by locking out certain nutrients that the plant wants. So you're always wanting to test your water and test your soil as well. And I'm going to make a whole nother video about watering and stuff like that, and I'll dive into the importance of pH and how it reacts to the plant. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so that way you won't miss that video. But another thing you want in your soil is fungus and earthworms. Not necessarily earthworms, but earthworm castings. These are really good for your soil too, just for aeration and stuff like that. But earthworms, like these raised beds you see behind me, they are loaded with earthworms. And my compost bins that are out here, 4 huge compost bins out here, they probably are as well too. But if you get lime, dolomitic lime is pulverized. You want dolomitic lime, and some of it you can get pulverized. It's like baby powder. That's faster acting, slow release, is what I would recommend, simply because it lasts longer. But lime will add the magnesium and the calcium that your soil and your soil is going to need to make your plants happy, and it also kind of helps stabilize your pH as well. So that's it pretty much for the basic understanding. But like I said, guys, if you want the full shebang, get the book that's linked in the description below. I'm not trying to sound like your 8th grade science teacher here, and I'm not giving you an exam or a test to pass or fail. It's going to be a learning curve. It's just going to be trial and error. That's the best way you're going to find out. But if you guys want to dive deeper into what the living soil is, and I'll explain that a little bit too. So these beds behind me it's called the lasagna method. They're layered. And as I film in here, you might be able to see it in the beds. The soil levels will drop because it's breaking down what's on the bottom. And what I do is I mix my soil, because these are living beds. These beds have earthworms in them. They have all kinds of bugs to break down material. Certain bugs are good, certain bugs are bad guys. But it's an ecosystem. It's a party in your soil, and you want that party to constantly be partying, because if the soil is partying, your plants are reaping the benefits, guys. And you don't have to till it. That's something that when you look at big agriculture, or big farms, you always see them tilling the soil. You really don't have to do that. And if you read the book, you'll understand why. It's just constantly putting a new layer on top, a new layer on top, a new layer on top. And that new layer is, in the party below, is creating, because when you're breaking down the soil, it's creating the nutrients that your plant needs. But like I said, I don't want to get in a lot of detail. Check out the Canadian Grower and check out Build Your Soil for a lot more detail into that stuff. But it's really cool, guys. And that's really about it. So take it easy, stay green, and keep growing.